We are live.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're live. Today, we're talking about profit, why you don't have any, and if you do have some, why is it so little? How do you get more profit? Some of the mistakes I made, and some of the mistakes that you might be making, and like little tweaks on how you can actually become a profitable salon. First and foremost, some of the information I got from a book called Profit First. So it's not like my real core information that I invented myself. This guy named Mike, he wrote an amazing book and I read it, I implemented it, and now I use it. But I made a couple tweaks because our industry is a little bit different than some of the things they explain in the book. The most important piece of information for every single person when they are thinking about profits and where their money's at in the salon is to understand that you are allowed to take a profit as an owner. And I think a lot of owners feel bad because they used to be a stylist and they have this guilt around making money and being profitable and making more than their team. You took the risk. You took the money out of your savings. You took the loan out. You're sacrificing time with your family. You're sacrificing your own hard earned money that you earned before you opened a salon. So you are entitled to make money from owning the salon, not just doing hair. And there's a mindset shift that needs to happen because if you never correct your relationship with money and the mindset around becoming a profitable salon owner, it's going to continually hurt you year after year after year. And you're almost going to self sabotage to make yourself not profitable, to keep yourself at the same level as your team because you still identify with being a stylist. So the main thing I want you to think about here is, do you do that? Do you self sabotage yourself as an owner because you feel guilty about taking a profit? And if you do, fix that first. Fix the mindset around that. And just to let you guys know, I've been in the salon industry since 1997. I've opened salons from scratch. I took them over, and I've probably felt every ounce of pain that you feel right now, and that you're gonna feel, and that you felt in the past. So I know exactly what you're going through. I've done over $1 million a year in my salon and had nothing to show for it at the end of the year. And then I've had times where I really didn't do much and I profited tons of money. So there's something here about around the mindset, and the mindset of around me being the stylist who owns a salon was way different than the mindset around being a salon owner who also might do hair. So let me just say that first. You're entitled to become profitable. You're entitled to pull a profit. You're entitled to make money off being a leader and owning a salon. With that out the way, the next area you should focus on is real revenue. So a lot of people think the money coming in is their revenue. In a salon, however, if you're a commission salon, mostly, you have to pay a commission to your team for doing the services they provide behind the chair. And when all that money comes in your account, what happens is you start paying your bills out of that account before removing any of those commissions first. So one of the things that I like to do first, as soon as the money comes in, I take away all of the commission that's going out to my team, whether I pay them on a daily basis, a weekly basis, however I structure my salon every 2 weeks. The longer the time horizon that you let the money sit into your account, the more difficult it is to get a good grip on what's happening with that money. Let me explain that. If you pay every 2 weeks, week one, you got 20,000 from all the services. Week two, you got 40,000. Now, $40,000 seems like a lot of money. You think you're rich. You start paying bills. Before you know it, everything adds up. Then you start paying out your commissions. Then you have the payroll tax coming out. Then you have the payroll company charging you there. Then you got your color order. Then you have your front desk. You have your other salaries. And before you know it, you barely have enough money to make payroll. And then you're using your money that you made behind the chair to cover the rest of the expenses. That's not the way a business should run. And I'm only saying this because that's what I did. I've done it. I did it for years. And I was the breadwinner in my salon, and I had to not take a paycheck for a couple weeks to a couple months sometimes. And it sucks. So what you want to do first is extract out after week one, take that commission, put it into a bucket somewhere. This way, your team's always getting paid and you're looking at your other account, and that's the money you have to play with. Also, your money that you earn behind the chair, if you're still working behind the chair, put it in that bucket too. The other thing I like to do is once it's separated, is if you don't do parts and labor, you should pull out all the money that was generated by your parts and labor system. So if you're charging your clients for color, which I think everyone should do, I think the industry needs to make a switch and do that. And there's a couple people who speak negatively about that, but they also don't own a hair salon. That is probably one of the best structures you can implement for covering your color cost. When you try and figure out like how much color you're using on a single process or a full highlight or whatever the service is, it's going to vary from person to person. It's going to vary from hair density, hair length, the stylist, how they're mixing it, how they apply it. So there's really no exact way to find out how much you're using per service. There's a roundabout way, and if that works for you, then keep doing it. But if you really want to get specific on where your money's going and how much you're spending on color, the best way to do it is with a parts and labor system. So in my booking software, I just have a product called color and a product called bleach, and I charge per gram. At the end of the week, we take a look at the money that came in that particular category, and I pull it out and put it in my other bucket. That's to replenish the color, the gloves, the foils, and everything else. Now I have that covered. So my commission's covered, and I have my color covered, and the other area is going to be used for expenses. But if you pay your expenses out first, guess what happens? You have no money. You got to pull your profit out first. That's the whole premise of the book, profit first. So now your commissions are taken care of. You got your color taken care of. Now what's left in this bucket is actually your real revenue, not your real profit yet, just your real revenue. Out of that, you got assistants you got to pay for. You have your front desk, you have your rent, you have your light, your water, your internet, you have your booking software, all the other expenses come out. Any kind of upgrades, the air conditioner break, all that stuff matters in your salon. And if you don't have the ability to understand what is your operating expenses, and if you start paying everything collectively out of that one account, you're never going to have the ability to have anything left at the end of the year, because if it's there, you'll spend it. So the way the book operates is pull a small percentage out, whether it's 1%, 3%, 5%, 10%. You want to figure out what the industry kind of standard is. But in the beginning, this is all new to you. Pull out 5%, pull out at least 1%. If you're really broke right now and there's no profit, start with 1%. See how it works. Then you double it. Once you start doing that, you build a habit of saving. Then when I say saving, I mean pulling out your profits. If you never pull your profits out until the end of the year, you're not going to really have any profits. Some people may, but I mean, mostly in our industry, we're working with like an 8% profit margin. Let's call it 10%. And if you're doing $1 million a year in revenue in your salon, and the average business profits 10% of what their overall revenue is, it's $100,000. Honestly, I don't know where you guys live. It's different for every area in the US and in the world, but $100,000 can't really do much for you in New Jersey, where I'm from, or Florida. Not for the lifestyle that I want to have. So it may be cool in like the Midwest somewhere, but honestly, today, 100 grand is not going to do much for you. You got kids in private school, kids in dance, kids in cheerleading, kids in football. You got your car, you got your insurance, you got Netflix, Hulu, Disney, all these subscriptions now that you're subscribing to. 100,000 goes really quick. So you want to make sure that you're doing this for a reason. And you want to make sure that you're actually making money, because having more money is better than having less money, because you can care for the people you love at a greater capacity if you have more money. Someone needs a surgery. You want to take your wife on vacation, your husband on vacation, your kids want to go to a better school. Like, you need money for certain things. And if you're spending 60 hours a week in the salon and you got nothing to show for it at the end of the year, you're probably just better off renting a chair. So we have to fix that. So if you have that real revenue, pull out what you feel like you need to profit, like what you feel like would make you happy. Obviously, you're going to do some math here. Then you got to pay yourself for being an owner. That's not the profit. You're getting paid for the work you're doing for being an owner. And a lot of owners never do that. You just think that goes with the territory. But here's what happens. If you don't, in the beginning phase, if you don't pull out a fee or a management salary for yourself as an owner, when you want to remove yourself from that position, you have nothing set aside for that role. So the cool thing is you're building a habit of paying a manager, especially in the beginning phases of owning a salon. Now what you do is you remove yourself from some tasks. You create something I call the replacement ladder. You find the tasks that you want to replace in your day-to-day activities that you're doing for the salon, and then you pay someone to manage them for you and run them. That money is already allocated when you pay yourself out of your real revenue. Then put money in a tax account somewhere, and then now you have your operating expenses. So your profit is taken care of, your salary is taken care of, you got your tax taken care of. Now you're going to have your operating expenses. If at the end of that pay period, you don't have enough to cover your operating expenses, that means that you're overpaying somebody. That means that maybe your rent is too high. That means you're not making enough money. That means that something's going on in your business that's not right, because you should have enough money to cover all your expenses with a little bit left over too. What happens is you have assistants, you have a front desk, you have an assistant manager maybe. You have all these people on payroll, and they're not really adding any revenue or generating any revenue for your business. So let's talk about the assistants real quick. Your assistants should be doing blowouts, single processes, some kind of service to pay for their daily rate. So if you're paying them $15 an hour, I mean, minimum wage right now is like crazy in some states, but call it even $20 an hour. At $20 an hour, at 6 hours a day, you're looking at 180, 120 a day, six hours a day, James, at $20 an hour.
$6 a day?
6 hours a day at $20 an hour.
5 is $120.
Yeah. So at $120, if you aren't finding a way to recoup that money at the end of 5 days, James, what do we got?
120 times 5?
$600. So what begins to happen now is $600 for 2 assistants. That's $1,200 a week plus your front desk. That assistant, if they're doing 3 blowouts a day at $40, guess what that equals? $120. So they're paying for themselves. If you could figure out a way to get them efficient enough behind the chair to do a blowout, it's a wash. So that way you got the assistant, you got the support, they're learning, and now you're not worrying about that expense. Eventually, they're going to be doing more, and they might be doing $200 a day. Now you're up $80. So that's how you have to think. Like, I'm not going to just pay this person to sit around nothing or just wash people and take out the garbage. How can they perform a service that can actually bring in revenue? That's fixing a leak in the profit bucket. Front desk. If your front desk is just sitting there answering the phone, scrolling on TikTok, not doing anything, they're costing you money. How are they bringing in revenue? Well, I have something I teach called the chat to chair method. They should be interacting with people on your social media. They should be speaking to people in the salon. They should be getting people rebooked, making sure retail is going out the door. They should be making sure that any interaction on social media is ending in a conversation that leads them to book an appointment. If you do that, you can then tie all new clients that they book on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever the platform is, to a bonus structure. They get a piece of that first initial visit of that client. That allows them to have a little bit of skin in the game, make a little extra money, but it also ties them to a revenue goal for the salon where they're almost paying for themselves. And if you start looking at the positions in your salon, the salary positions or the positions where you pay people and they don't earn a commission, and you start restructuring those position agreements and tying them to a revenue goal, it changes the salon's profitability tremendously. So if you are a salon owner and you're like, shit, I have all these expenses. I don't know what to do. How am I going to cut my assistants? But I need them because we're so busy, but yet there's no profits. Try this whole profit first methodology. And it's an amazing system. I have a whole breakdown in my curriculum in the Level Up Academy, and I'm going to be touching on this multiple times this year. So every single person knows exactly what's going on in their salon. Now, there's also one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to profitability. It's called key man risk. And you are the key man risk as an owner who's the busiest stylist in your salon, or you might have a stylist in your salon who is like 80% of your revenue. If that's the case and that person leaves, guess what happens to your business? It's not protected. You want to make sure you're protecting your profits. So what we're going to do inside the Level Up Academy is we're going to be going over every couple of weeks your profit and protection, talking about your key man risk. How do we diversify the clientele and the revenue between all of your stylists, not just one or two of them? And especially not just yourself, because if you go on vacation and you're the breadwinner in the salon, you're not going to profit anything for the 2 weeks you're gone. So there's a lot of things that you have to focus on as an owner. And the first thing, I'm going to bring it back to the beginning of the conversation, is your mindset. You're no longer a hairstylist. you're a salon owner that might do hair. If you guys do that and change your mindset and implement a profit first strategy, you will have profits. I guarantee you, because I didn't think it was possible either. And I actually started making a profit when I stepped away from behind the chair. I didn't know how to do this because I was too busy doing hair. The only way to make it possible was actually step into my entrepreneurial role and become an owner who owned a salon. So James, we're going to kick in some Q&A right now. If you guys got any questions on issues in your salon, where your money might be going, maybe a quick little strategy on how it can help you, and take a look at your particular situation, drop a comment. James will read it off to me and we'll go. James.
We got stylist Marcus. How do you handle clients who say, but you're so fast, it only took 20 minutes? Then he said, like, girl, the skill is why it's fast.
You charge for the result. It didn't take me 20 minutes. You're not paying for the 20 minutes of the service. You're paying for the 15, 20 years it took me to learn how to do the service in 20 minutes. And you're also not paying, you're paying for the result, but you're also paying this. So your hair doesn't get fucked up. You got to go somewhere else down the street to get it fixed. So you're paying for your hair to be perfect. I don't charge for time. I charge for the result. You want this look? It's $500. That's it. You're paying for your experience.
Tailor-made styles. What percentage should we actually be taking home after expenses? No one ever told me this.
Ah, beautiful. So it's not after expenses. It's before expenses. That's the profit first system. It's real revenue minus your profit equals expenses. If you don't pull your profit out first after expenses, typically you won't have anything. But if you're paying yourself, let's say, a reasonable salary as the manager / owner, plus your profits, I would say typically industry standards 10%, but you want to be somewhere around 20. 20 is an ideal number. 30% is solid, right where you want to be at. If you can get to pulling out 30% profit from your business, you're doing really well. The goal would be 30, and you could 100% do it. But too many owners, they hop into a salon because they get sold the dream from somebody, and it's this beautiful space, main on main. They're paying $10,000 a month. Plus they have the cost of triple net. So they got snow removal, dumpsters. Then they have their water, their electric, their Wi-Fi, any other bills that go along with that. So to be honest with you, like, it's more like $15,000 a month. And that's before you have to pay anybody else to operate in a salon. So the first thing before you do anything when it comes to a salon is you don't need to be main on main. You don't need an A+++ location. You need A+++ marketing. That's what you need. I'd much rather have my rent be $2,000 a month than $10,000 a month with great parking that might be 5 or 10 minutes down the street. I might have to make a couple lefts and a couple rights, but if the parking's good, who cares? Unless you're in the middle of Manhattan and parking sucks everywhere, that's not the case for everybody. Don't get that space that's so much money. That's first and foremost. And if you do that and you have a space like I do over here, I could cover my rent in one day doing hair. That's what you want. And then everything else is profit. But when I talk to owners a lot of times, or even new salon owners who are just stepping into ownership and they're looking for locations, they don't negotiate their rent. They don't do any tenant improvement funding. And what that is where you have the landlord gives you money to improve the space. That's a thing. Like, your landlord could put in money to improve the space. You can get free rent for a year. Like, I didn't pay $1 for my space in Florida for like the first 14 months because we weren't in there yet. You have to negotiate. You got to really think about, like, how much do you want to make from this business? And then, oh, cool, I want to make 500 grand a year. And then back out all the other possibilities that might not make that happen. The possible scenarios. And having a rent that's extremely high because it's a beautiful location and you build it, they'll come. They're not going to come. They just won't, because you have no money left for marketing. You have too much stress. So don't look for those locations that are too expensive. Trust me, just focus on the marketing, focus on being the best person at that service in your community. But from a profit standpoint, 30% is your target. 20%, 20 to 30%. If you could pull that off, you're sitting pretty.
Paula Duncan on Facebook. What about those of us who work in low income area though? My clients genuinely can't afford higher prices and I can't just move my whole business.
Oh, then do more people. And trust me, they can. They're choosing not to spend the money with you. Like if you are, guys, if you're in a low income area, leadership is leadership. Why don't you reach out to all the wealthier people in like a 20-mile radius who got out of that low income area? Put together a seminar once a month for everyone in the community to help them raise their standards and their business acumen and their financial capacity to understand money. Re-educate your community where you're at. Start building people's knowledge on how to make more money, save more money, and what to do with their money. And now you're creating your ideal client by having more money. But I guarantee you, all the people in your area, some of them have nice cars, some of them have iPhones that are $2,000 or $1,500. I don't want to hear about the low income areas. It's like if you truly cared, and this is not a dig towards you, this is to anyone in the low income area. If you truly cared about your area, you would do something to raise the standards of everybody's financial acumen. This way, everybody knew how to handle money. And if you do that, your clients will probably thank you for it.
Cecilia Care, do you suggest IG marketing and Facebook marketing?
100%. I suggest marketing on every channel. First off, I think that the way to truly position it when it comes to marketing, a truly dialed in headquarters, which is going to be your website and your social media. That needs to be optimized, structurally sound for AEO and SEO. And AEO is answer engine optimization. So it's like your ChatGPT, your Perplexity, your Claude, your AIs. You want to make sure you're being found there first and foremost, like all this different search places and answer places where people ask questions to. But when you're talking about Google specifically, there's something called Google, there's tags, right? And there's pixels. Facebook has pixels, Google has tags. And Google Tag Manager, you can set it up, put the code on your website. What happens is people come to your website from a search. Best hair salon in XYZ city. Best blowout in XYZ, best haircut, best barber, best whatever. And they come to your website. Now you have the tag manager locking in their information, which then you could retarget around Google, or you could share that information elsewhere. But then now also you have the Facebook pixel on there. So they didn't know about you really because you're running your ads alongside the Facebook feed or Instagram feed. And it's going to get expensive because you're going to blend it with everybody else. But now, because they came to your website from Google, you have their information. It transfers over to the Facebook pixel, and you can set up a retargeting campaign in the back end of your audience on Facebook. You could pick people who visited your website before. You could visit people who checked out before. But now you're showing your ads to somebody who actually knows who you are because they came to your website, and then it makes your ads less expensive. I teach that whole strategy inside the Level Up Academy, and we're going to really crush it this year because now there's something called AI search that Google came out with, and it's going to change the way salons advertise. 100%. We're going to really go deep into that in the Level Up Academy. Advertising is my favorite thing to speak about, by the way. I don't like talking about money and profit and all that shit, but I like the advertising side of things. It's so easy to be found in 2026. You guys don't understand. Like when I first started doing hair, I'm talking like I used to put business cards inside of magazines at the Quick Check and the corner store and the bookstores, put like 15, 20 in there. So when someone bought the Cosmo magazine or the magazine for women's hairstyles and fashion, they were bombarded with like 50 of my business cards. Like marketing is just something I like to do. You guys can create a reel that goes viral and get 50 clients from it, but you can't because you don't create the reel because you don't want to post on social media. It's honestly, today, it's never been easier to be a busy hair salon than ever before. And the only people who aren't busy are the people who are lazy. And that's not even like a dig. Like you're just lazy. You're too lazy to watch a couple YouTube videos to learn how to run the Facebook ads. You're too lazy to put the work in, to learn, to practice, to try. It's just sheer laziness. Today, like it's not that it's free information out there on the internet. And you're not willing to invest in yourself. Like you could hire a mentor, hire a coach, get into a program who knows what they're doing and have them time collapse your journey. So you could learn everything in like a couple weeks that would take you a couple years of trial and error to learn. It's just a matter of how bad you want it. Everyone says they want it when it comes to owning a business, but very few actually want it. Like I'm in here sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't need to be. I just choose to be because I want it. Next question, James.
Stylish Stephanie, do you have like a calculator or something that can help me figure out what to charge? I'm so bad at math.
Yeah. If you go to nickmirabella.com, you can go to put in the search, put in calculator, put in pricing calculator. And that's a really good question, by the way. So don't just make up your pricing based on what the salon down the street is doing, what the salon you used to work at did. What you want to do first is just get an idea of what you should be charging from either a break-even standpoint or whatever metric you want to base it off of. And what you do is you take your rent, take your expenses, add them all up. Take the space you have. How many chairs do you have? How many hours are you open? You put that information in the calculator I created. It gives you a number per minute that your chair is costing you the times that you're open. Then you want to figure out how long are your services. Now, I'm not saying charge by the hour, by the minute. I don't do time-based charging. I think it's fucking stupid. But you do need to have an idea of, hey, if my salon's open 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, how many days a week, and I'm operating my salon 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever days you want to be open, how much each chair needs to bring in for that hour in order to be profitable, or even break even, right? And then you take a look, I want to break even. Let's say that chair needs to be $100 an hour to break even. What's my margin I want to make? I want to be 30% profitable. Well, if I'm giving 50% commission, now that means I got to double that. So now I can be $200 an hour. So now $200 an hour, what's my commission? It's $100 an hour, right? But then you have expenses out of there. So if it costs you $100 to run the chair and you're giving a commission on it, at $100, you got to tack on another 30% if you want to be 30% profitable. So you got, call it $260 an hour is really what you want that chair to make for you. And then you're sitting around that 30% profit margin. Obviously, that's not the proper math. Go to the calculator and do it, but that's like a quick 20-second Facebook, YouTube, Instagram live breakdown of it. And the calculator breaks all those numbers down for you. And the calculator is free, guys. It's not like you don't pay for it. It's a free calculator on the front of my website. Go to nickmirabella.com, put in calculator. It's right there.
We got Tammy Richardson. I left a corporate salon because of the drama and went to a suite. Now I make less and I'm lonely. Did I make a mistake? LOL.
No, you didn't make a mistake. You took action on something you were unhappy with, which is beautiful. And I love the fact that you did that. You probably got sold like a dream from the people who own the suites, and suites aren't really what people thought they were when they started getting popular. What I would do now is I would really get dialed down your vision, get dialed in on what kind of culture you want to have, get dialed in on your mission, on your core values, and I would create a micro salon. I would create a 4 or 5 chair salon, build a really nice team, and have a beautiful business. Guys, you don't need to have a big salon. You don't need to have a small salon. You could do what you want. You could create the business that speaks to you. It's your salon. You do what you want. Like you could have a 200-person team. If that's your thing, great. That's not my thing. I don't want a 200-person team. I don't want employees. I want team members. I want hungry hairstylists who act like business owners and they really take their brand seriously. That's what I want. But you do you. If you want to be an owner and you want to have employees, rock out. There's a lot of successful salons that run it that way. But you, for being in the suite, think of like a micro salon with low management necessities, right? You don't have to really manage that many people. 3 to 5 stylists is great. 4 or 5 chairs. You got an assistant in there. You really don't need a front desk all the time. People can handle their own stuff, and you could be super profitable. So one of my most profitable locations was a smaller salon that had 5 chairs in it. It was fucking awesome. I would do that all day again. But now I created this big machine that I got to operate. So here we are. James.
So you care. I moved to a new area. Would you suggest to lower your current price to build back your clientele, or stay at the current price? And I'm struggling to build.
Did your haircut get worse, so you should charge less for it? No. Learn how to become the person, like learn how to be valuable in other people's eyes. So if you want to do something and you're new to the area, get in with the moms groups, get in with like the sororities, get in with like the bartender at the local bar or local restaurant who has a lot of clout in the area, do their hair for free, make them a collaborator on the post, make them leave a review. Just don't lower your prices. Either do them for free or charge what you charge. I don't like the discounting thing. If you want to discount, like I said, it's up to you. It's your business, but I would just get some social proof, doing the 10 most popular people in your community, crushing it with their hair, and then having them tell the world that you're amazing. And then obviously people are going to know your prices, and then you'll build up that way. But if you reach out to 100 people a day, you will be busy in the next 100 days. I promise you.
We got,
and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up Q&A in the next 2 questions. So if you have something really important, ask it. If not, you can go to my stories and ask me a question there.
We got,
every Monday and Friday, I do a Q&A in my stories. If you guys are watching on Facebook or YouTube.
Beauty by Brianna. Is it true you should charge 1 minute equals $1? Someone told me that.
No, that's not true, because 1 minute equals $1. That means that your chair costs $60 to operate an hour. What if your rent's really high and you have a smaller space with 4 chairs? It might be $8 an hour, $8 a minute to operate your salon. Like a suite, they're so expensive. They're probably more around like $8 an hour, or I'm sorry, $8 a minute. So you really want to figure out how much it's when you're open, all your overhead, how much you want to make profit-wise, and then you figure out with those calculations on the calculator on my website. But no, that's just somebody who just doesn't know what they're talking about, giving you a blanket dollar per minute. They don't own a salon. And to me, $60 an hour isn't really good money. You want to be somewhere around the $300, $400, $500 an hour mark. Ideally, it's where you would like to be at. And that comes from doing, partial highlight, 2 partial highlights an hour, higher ticket services, and you compound how much you're doing in one day, throughout that metric, that number. Because if you could do multiple people in a day, stack a single, stack a blowout, like you start building up this clientele where you can do multiple people in an hour, then you're really leveraging time and you're making more people feel beautiful. And if someone cancels or can't come in, then you're not stuck, because you have 8 to 12 people in your book today, or 20 people. James, last question. We're going to wrap it up for today.
Hair Witch. Sorry, weird question, but do you think it's unprofessional to have a cancellation fee? A client called me greedy last week for it.
No, not at all. I think it's protecting your time. I don't have cancellation fees, but you need to run your business that protects you. What I would do is like, no problem, Betty. When you want to rebook your next appointment, you're going to have to prepay for that next appointment. That's all. I do a prepay rather than a cancellation fee. Hey, no problem. You actually no-showed 3 times. You canceled last minute 3 times. So I'm going to need you to prepay for the appointment moving forward. To me, it was an easier conversation to have. And it's like, hey, you did this thing. Our policy is this. Like when someone doesn't show up and they don't show up, and like now you got to charge them for a service they didn't get. I think it's different than pre-charging them for what they're booking for. And if there's a balance left over, then you just charge them the difference. And if they don't show up, they already pay for the appointment. They're beat. It's done. That's what I did. That seemed to work the best for me. All right, guys. If you're just catching this at the end, please go to YouTube, watch the full thing. We broke down the Profit First system, a quick little gist on how it works. If you are a really successful salon and you're like, shit, I'm just not profiting. My team sucks. I need some help. I tried all the courses. I went to the gurus. I went to the coaches. Nothing seems to work. You want somebody who actually does this real time in the real world, in the trenches with you. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to help. There's a much easier way to run your salon. People overcomplicate it with 50 to 100 page workbooks. You don't need fucking workbooks. You don't need to fill out any more paperwork than you're already filling out. What you need is a system. You need strategy, and you need accountability. You need a system that can take you from where you are now to your dream destination, which is freedom, financial freedom, freedom of your time, more time with your family. If that is what you want, do me a favor, reach out to me at nickmirabella.com on Instagram, or just go to nickmirabella.com on my website and shoot me a message. And it's not at nickmirabella.com. It's just at nickmirabella on Instagram. All right, guys, I'll see you later. If you're on YouTube, make sure you click subscribe, because we're doing these lives every day and you'll get notified. See y'all later.